what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Times don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world, but keep the sky on your mind.
All right, we are live on YouTube.
All right, welcome guys. With us tonight, we've got Dave, Dan, Alex, and myself. We'll be covering some articles this evening, and feel free to chime in with questions or anything as we go along. Let me get my screen going here. You know, this always takes me a second. Let's see. All right, so news coming out of New York City. Drones will be dispatched to emergencies in certain precincts across New York City, including one in the Bronx. The 48th precinct is one of 5 locations across the city that will be piloting the initiative to fly into the future, as Mayor Eric Adams phrased it during the announcement. The mayor and NYPD commissioner called the program Drones as First Responders. Well, they don't call it that. The world calls it that. But, you know, as the name suggests, each precinct will have 2 drones to survey calls for missing people, robberies, shot spotter alerts, among other emergencies. The 48th precinct has seen rises in robberies, burglaries, and shootings so far this year, according to NYPD data. Neighbors in Tremont have mixed feelings about the approach to drive down those numbers. Police say the drones will allow them to respond quicker, provide enhanced search capabilities, and are more cost-effective than a helicopter. 100% on that. I was kind of hoping Rob would be with us tonight because he is one of the organizations. He's with one of the police organizations that has kind of pioneered this, the start of this drone as first responders, and is a major player in that. But along with that, the FAA approval allows ANRA Technology Services to support BV loss waiver applications. And the reason why I kind of want to loop this in here is because in collaboration with the New York Power Authority, ANRA's solution will enhance safety and efficiency for beyond visual line of sight drone operations. The New York Power Authority, already using ANRA's Mission Planner platform, will now integrate ANRA's strategic coordination solution, further advancing the New York Power Authority's enterprise drone capabilities. Let's see. The one other thing I wanted to mention here. Oh, yeah, here we go. The partnership between ANRA and NY Power Authority underscores the commitment to integrating advanced airspace management for critical infrastructure. ANRA's strategic coordination system draws on methodologies from the U.S. Shared Airspace Initiative, a program in which ANRA provides coordination services to multiple operators, including the Arlington Police Department and Mana Drone Delivery. So I was kind of curious what Rob's take on this, because obviously that's where he works. Now, as the sole non-vertically integrated provider for multi-user environments, ANRA services will enhance the New York Power Authority's capacity for safe beyond visual line of sight operations. So with the letter of agreement, ANRA serves as a UAS service supplier under the FAA's near-term approval process. This expedited process provides operators like the New York Power Authority with quicker approvals for beyond visual line of sight operations, as it emphasizes solutions that adhere to strict safety and operational standards. So, pretty interesting that drones are starting to take off, literally, in New York, as they move towards both drones as first responders and then obviously beyond visual line of sight waivers and inspection. So
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I guess with the NYPD and New York Fire Department, there's always a bit of competition, we'll say, between the two. And back in 2020, we had the privilege of working with one of 17 the full-time pilots in New York Fire Department, and NYFD was a member of the DAC at the time, and this was the DAC tasking, so we got to work with them, and back in that time, as I say, they had 17 full-time drone pilots, and one of the hard requirements in order to get one of those assignments, and in addition to being Part 107 pilots, you had to be a New York firefighter and have experience fighting fires, so that you knew how to stay out of the way and what you were looking at. And they would get up and help the command structure see what was going on, and also provide increased safety for the firefighters. So great that NYPD is doing that, and there's a lot. And the New York City, Manhattan is similar to the Washington D.C. area, which is the freeze. So you just about cannot fly as a recreation or Part 107 in the Manhattan area. There's a permit process now, very difficult to get a permit, and it costs, I think, $150 for each time you apply, and there's no guarantee that you'll be approved. And if you are
don't
denied,
get your money back.
yeah, you're denied, you get to do it again and try again and reapply with another $150 fee. But welcome to New York. So
yeah, 100%. So it looks like a total of 109 drones in use with now 60 NYPD officers. So for the drone for first responders program. So
that's great.
Yeah, this will be interesting. All right. So real quick, coming out of the FAA, the UAS Integration Office issues an RFI, which is a request for information on research areas to inform standards. So this just rolled out. They have issued a new request for information pertaining to likely research areas for emergent business and operational use cases for expansion of UAS into the national airspace system. They're seeking feedback from industry and practitioners on whether the current list of proposed new entrants, integration research focus areas need to be added to. So right here's the current list of those focus areas. If there is and we'll cover it here in a second, a way to suggest new ones, but currently they have beyond visual line of sight, command and control link technologies, traffic management, including UTMs, which is UAS traffic management, extensible traffic management, upper class traffic management, and evolution of air traffic management, noise and other societal and environmental impacts, industry consensus standards, including vehicle to vehicle, aircraft to everything, and detect and avoid, collision between new entrance vehicles of various sizes traveling at various speeds, electronic conspicuity. Oh, God, I can't even say that word. Conspicuity. Okay, there you go. How conspicuous the electronics are. I would imagine RF signals and that kind of thing. Human factors, including human system interface, procedures, and pilot and crew qualifications. Advanced automation, including artificial intelligence and machine learning. Infrastructure enablers for new entrants, including airports, drone ports, and vertiports. And risk of hazardous materials aboard UAS, either as cargo or a power source. I hate to tell you, almost every UAS has a hazardous material on it. Just throwing that out there. So if you want to, if anybody has any ideas of things that need to be researched as part of the, you can, RFI responses must be submitted via electronic email to the contracting officer, Karina Espinoza and Kristen Franz, no later than 3 p.m. on December 2nd. So a little under a month. Sponsors should provide responses to the information requested in Section 4 of the RFI.
Responses should contain quotes in the subject line of the email?
Apparently. Doesn't say what
Empty
that
quotes.
is. It's quote space. There's a space in there, Dan. Come on.
All right.
But yeah, there's. Let's see.
So
Go ahead.
this list is curious, and
Mhm.
so we used to look at things like this to consolidate and centralize research and development in one part of the company and then share it across the rest of the company. We did this in both hardware and software. So as you look through this list, you go, well, this obviously is not a business, or it's probably not a business, but it's a technology area within a number of businesses. So this could be either just pure research that would help, that the FAA wants to fund. Great, that would be a good thing. Or Department of Transportation wants to fund. Great. Or it could be, let's worry about supply chain. So if there are areas of technology that are single sourced in one part of the world, then that's an area that you might want to bulk up on. If it's a technology that crosses a number of industries, so
Yeah.
an interesting way to go about the problem, and
The other way
could
I
have
see
some
this is
utility.
the other way I see this is a sign of things to come, right? So obviously, we've been talking about network remote ID, right? And when you look at the extension of traffic management and the 4 different areas in here, I mean, obviously that's going to be a hot topic, right? Obviously,
Absolutely.
beyond visual line of sight operations is a hot topic amongst everybody right now. And then coming down to things like one of the articles we covered last meeting was actually about environmental impacts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
So
then even pilot and crew qualification. So are they going to enhance the testing? Are they going to change the
Everyone has to
testing?
be
What's going to happen with
racing
that,
pilot.
right?
what was that, Alex?
What's that?
I said everyone has to be a racing pilot. Put a time on the GQ.
So when I look at this list, I'm like, well, they've already done research on a bunch of these things. Are they asking for more research, or for the things that they haven't? Like, well, why haven't you already done research on this? It seems like you should have done that years ago.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is one of the things industry has been saying, we've been saying, is that the U.S. is now behind a lot of the rest of the world when it comes to drones, and a lot of companies have been pushing for beyond visual line of sight. Obviously, we've got that NPRM coming soon, hopefully, either December, January timeframe, stuff like that, where if they've done the research, or have they done the thorough research? Is that why stuff like that is you'd think some of this stuff would be on there
Like,
or
there's
already
been
done,
lots
right?
of research on noise and
A lot.
societal environmental impacts. We've been part
Yeah.
of meetings that talked about those things.
So a
Mhm.
lot of some of this stuff is also already being done on the Assure program. So like BV loss or drone traffic, uh, and just maybe not too. Maybe they want industry to take what's been done in with Assure and try to put it into a product, if because of saying proposed new entrants, or maybe try to apply it to AAM instead of small UAS, because the main focus of the Assure program has been for small UAS, at least
Okay, fair.
from what I've seen. So maybe looking at advanced air mobility side of things, does what Assure found for small UAS work for advanced air mobility?
Yeah,
And
along
maybe
those
similar
along
things
those
like that, or just to build on the Assure program, take the next step, look at what the
Mhm.
conclusions were from those reports, and see where those researchers said might need to be looked at next, and dive into that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, this could be a way to prioritize university grants along what you're saying, Alex. An
Mhm.
extension of Assure.
Right.
Interesting.
So just a thought. Just I see it as things to come, and what could be happening there. So coming up on what kind of Dave was talking about, U.S. drone maker Skydio faces battery squeeze after Chinese sanctions. So America's supply chain vulnerabilities were on full display Thursday after drone manufacturer Skydio told its customers it was facing a battery squeeze after being hit with sanctions from China. This is an attempt to eliminate the leading American drone company and deepen the world's dependence on Chinese drone supplier. Skydio CEO Adam Bryce said in a letter to customers, first reported by the Financial Times. The company, which provides drones to Ukraine's military and Taiwan's National Fire Agency, manufactures its product in the United States, but still relies on a global supply chain for many of its components. One of the most critical components, batteries, are still sourced in China. As a result of the sanctions, which bar Chinese companies from doing business with Skydio, customers will be limited to one battery per drone, Skydio told customers. While Skydio has a substantial stock of batteries on hand, it doesn't anticipate new sources coming online until spring of next year. In the meantime, the company is extending the software license, warranty, and support term for orders affected by the battery ration by the length of time it takes for the full complement of batteries to be delivered. Skydio is America's largest drone manufacturer and operates an enterprise-only business after shutting down its consumer drone business in 2023. It has sent thousands of its drones to Ukraine to aid that country's war-fighting efforts. This is a clarifying moment for the drone industry, Bryce said. If there was ever any doubt, this action makes clear that the Chinese government will use supply chains as a weapon to advance their interest over ours. And I'm just going to, put it out there, Mr. Bry. What did you expect to happen? I mean, realistically, we're trying to ban DJI, a Chinese company, from here in the United States because they are out innovating and out pricing American companies. And this is the response. I mean, plain and simple. I mean, just what did you think was going to happen? So the drone maker has sought help from the Biden administration and has been in touch with Taiwan's Vice President Hasao Bin Kim as it faces this crisis, the Financial Times reported. The sanctions, which were imposed on October 10th and include two other companies, were reportedly imposed in retaliation for the U.S. government's announcement it would provide additional military assistance for Taiwan. 10 executives were also sanctioned, including Bry and Skydio's Asian Pacific manager, Tom Moss. So, yeah, just a thought. What did you expect was going to happen? And I'll kind of leave it there. But
Yeah, and part of the reporting on this topic, there were comments in some of the articles about the various pieces of legislation that Congressional Representative Elise Stefanik has been pushing and pushed into the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. And if you've been listening to the news over the last couple of days, Representative Stefanik is going to be put forward as the United States UN ambassador.
Yep.
So that's good news from a congressional perspective, because of course she'll have to resign her seat in Congress, and whomever they have replace her will probably have a different individual as the third ranking individual in the House. So,
and they may have a
maybe
totally
someone who's
different
not
feeling on drones.
Exactly. We
Could
hope
be
so.
worse, could be better. Who knows?
It could be
Right.
worse, Could be worse.
Could always be worse, right?
but it'll be different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
I wouldn't
it's
want to
just-
mess with China and batteries. Like, basically all batteries for anything important. I know the U.S. is working on batteries for cars and stuff and other things, but like all batteries for all small electronics come from a few
Well,
factories
and
in China.
I feel like
so.
most of the lithium is mined in China as well. I mean, for almost all the batteries, right?
Yeah,
So
right now, yes. Yep.
So
And
it's
changing that takes a long time.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So on that same note, Skydio, amidst its woes, has acquired 114 patent assets from action camera giant GoPro. The transaction, recorded by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office in October 2024, marks one of the largest patent deals of the month, reports IAM. A substantial patent acquisition comes at a pivotal time for both companies. Skydio, the autonomous drone specialist, has been steadily expanding its presence in military, public safety, and industrial applications. Meanwhile, GoPro has been implementing strategic changes to navigate challenging market conditions.
I'd be
GoPro's
really
decision.
curious to see what specific patents they are and how old they are, and how's that going to affect GoPro?
Session
Part of what Dave and I were talking about, and I haven't obviously had time to dig into which patents were purchased, but GoPro did release that drone several years back that flopped
Had a couple
fairly
of
hard,
issues.
Yeah.
Well,
but
the air, I believe it was just because of a recall that they had to do for it, and or
Like
I think
batteries
there's a
falling
bug
out when
with
they
the
were flying around.
software. No, I think there's a software bug that was with it that just, although when it worked, it worked great from what I heard and thought, but there was an issue that it just didn't get further with because of that issue.
now, does anybody remember? Because I remember the drone. I remember, seeing it in the store. I
You could
remember,
take
but
the GoPro out of the drone and use it.
so was there anything super innovative about it that Skydio would want? Does
Well,
anybody remember?
because they
had
used
a
a standard GoPro with it, and the GoPro came out as a drone, so you could take it on and off the drone.
Okay.
and it had innovative follow the GCS ground control station.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like
technology
it
at
must have been
at
one of the
time.
first to do that, or
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think DJI's done it for a while, but I can't remember who came first on that.
Well,
To be
then
honest,
DJI
Skydio
lost a
is
lawsuit
very
to
good at that.
Textron for that same feature. So
Yep.
so Dave and I were kind of kicking around. Is it maybe some of their image stabilization or something? I'll have to dig into the patents and see. But
And if they really got rid of the patents, they wouldn't want to get rid of anything that's useful in their current GoPro action cameras.
right, so that's my secondary thought too. Is like, what is GoPro doing? I mean, GoPro has been a little on the edge for several years now. And it's just interesting to see them selling off their patents to, I don't know if they're trying to restructure or maybe prep for something. I don't know, but
And take a look at their stock picture for the year to date, and it's a terrible profile. So whatever they can do for revenue and more important profit is critically important at this exactly right now. So, and to me, one of the very important in this, and one we should mention out loud. This is Drone XL article, and this is Haye's reporting again. Thank you to Haye, and this is a colleague and an individual we have a high regard for. So this is what we're trying to understand is, as Dan started, what are the patents that were, quote, sold, and were they simply licensed by GoPro? So GoPro continues to have the ability to write against these patents, their own patents, or did they sell the licenses and with it the intellectual property? When that's done, usually engineers, programmers go with the patents because that's where the real asset, of course, lies. So didn't see anything like that. Looked at GoPro's financial filings from yesterday or a couple of days ago, and there was nothing on this topic about it. I had imagined that this is probably of material magnitude, so it will probably show up in GoPro's 10Q 10K report in March. So very important for GoPro, and because this will tell us where they're going as a company. And I think it's very smart. And as Josh was saying, with respect to supply chain, if you're Skydio and you're a little short on technology around a camera, that's pretty important. I mean, and we were mentioning that the DJI purchased Hasselblad, so they recognize that as a critical strategic component in their supply.
Yeah.
And in their engineering, it's their future.
All right. So we were talking about Amazon. So Amazon gets FAA approval for new delivery drone as it begins test in Arizona. So the FAA approval includes permission to fly the Mark 30 over longer distances and beyond visual line of sight of pilots. So Amazon Tuesday said it received regulatory approval to begin flying the smaller, quieter version of its delivery zone, the last step in its long-running efforts to get the futuristic program off the ground. The company unveiled the new drone called the Mark 30 in November of 2022. Only took 2 years to get approved. It then said that the Mark 30, in addition to other changes, would fly through light rain and have twice the range of earlier models. Amazon said the FAA approval includes permission to fly the Mark 30 over longer distances and beyond visual line of sight. The agency granted a similar waiver for Amazon's Prime Air program in May, though that was limited to flights in College Station, Texas, one of the cities where it's been conducting tests. Alongside the FAA approval, Matt McCardle, head of regulatory affairs for Prime Air, said the company is starting to make drone deliveries Tuesday near Phoenix, Arizona. And April said it planned to spin up drone operations in Tolleson, a city west of Phoenix, after it shut down an earlier test site in Lockford, California. The company will dispatch the drones near one of its warehouses in Tolleson as it looks to integrate Prime Air more closely into existing logistics networks to further speed up deliveries. So looks like right after we had our last meeting, the FAA said that the agency granted Amazon permission to conduct beyond visual line of sight deliveries in Tolleson on October 31st. And when we were looking at it, it hadn't quite gotten the approval yet. So hopefully I'll start seeing some Amazon drones in the air.
Drones in the air. These should be pretty interesting.
Yeah. So,
But only during light rain. So,
but they'll go
Not
fast.
any fires.
it's Arizona. I mean,
And we wonder what the payload of this. I think they've been saying in the past 5 to close to 10 pounds.
I think
5 pounds.
Yeah, 5 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because it is smaller, so.
And if
We'll
Blunty
see.
were here, he'd be saying, "I just don't understand the monetization. I just don't get it. I just don't get it." And Blunty, we're with you, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm still interested to see it in action. So.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right.
Looks to be a hexacopter.
Mhm.
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know if
All
that
right,
was a
so-
recent image or if that's like stock footage from them from years ago. Well, it
did
could
say
be from years
college-
ago, but if it took 2 years for it to get approved and they couldn't change it in 2 years, then it probably doesn't matter. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Type-
much different. I mean, we covered
type
this when it
cert.
first rolled out, I think.
And it's very,
Is it
very
still
similar.
using is it still using the exploding patent for its scramblable parts on the ground from impact?
Don't
Yeah,
don't
it might
know.
be. I would imagine it would have to. I mean, obviously we don't want drones falling out of the sky and injuring somebody, so it's got to be some level of frangible, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to tell from the picture. Let me see if I can zoom in on it a little bit.
That doesn't look like it explodes easily. Or
Ah. Yeah,
Well,
nice triangulation.
plastic
I would say.
rivet, or
Still has those two
I don't
little
know.
antennas that remind me of Star Wars vehicles up in the front.
the antennas or the wing?
Those two little
Right
black
here.
antennas there.
Oh, there. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's
right
hard
here,
to see
right
those.
here.
They should be
Little
shooting
TIE
laser
fighter.
beams.
Well, I was going to say laser cannon.
Yeah.
I just make them airsoft guns.
All right. Speaking of things falling out of the air, stakeholders expect Congress to pass legislation to allow local police to interdict drones. So the National Football League has reported that during the 2023 season, it detected more than 2,800 improper drone flights at its stadiums in violation of FAA-imposed temporary flight restrictions. That's a lot.
And so the TFR is a 5-mile radius around the stadium. So
Yeah.
that's a big
And how many of
area.
those 2,800
It's massive.
stopped the game or posed a threat to the game?
Yeah.
They might have been
5,
proper.
6. Yeah.
Well,
It's a
it's
hand-
funny because there was an article out of Baltimore that was behind a paywall, so I didn't pull it up, but it said the Baltimore Ravens were relieved to finally play a game without a drone interruption. I was like, what?
Interesting.
I haven't seen that. I've seen like 1 or 2
Yeah.
maybe articles.
Yeah, there was a
but
Bengals game.
not every
Well,
game.
it's 2 back-to-back from the Ravens this past season, I believe.
Well, I mean, the season is more than half over at this
Yeah,
point.
nine
so-
games,
I
right?
don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know about the football season. I just know that it happened twice, back-to-back.
So they played. Let's say they played 9 games and only 1 hasn't had a drone interdiction. Like
Yeah.
that's interesting. So with the growing number of incidents involving drone flying, where and when they shouldn't, local law enforcement agencies and drone security companies are lobbying Congress to pass legislation that would extend the authority to conduct counter-drone measures currently held by a handful of select federal agencies to local-level police officials. Mary Lou Smulders, head of government affairs of drone security company Dedrone, said that under current law, police agencies at the state and municipal levels have very little authority to interdict drones that are violating the airspace of critical infrastructure sites, jails, prisons, and public gathering places such as sports arenas. What police can do today using the drone is detect the drone from far away, track it, locate the pilot, and identify the type of drone. When it comes to mitigation, the thing they can't do today is affect the drone in some way. The most that local law enforcement personnel can do to bring down a UAV that is being flown, either foolishly or maliciously, in airspace it has no right to be in, is to locate the pilot and instruct him to bring the drone down to Earth. Under current law, the only agencies empowered to employ mitigation techniques to bring down a threatening drone are the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, and the Department of Energy. However, there are several bipartisan bills pending in Congress that would extend such mitigation authority to state, local, tribal, and territorial law enforcement agencies. These bills include SB 1631, the Safeguarding the Homeland from the Threats Posed by Unmanned Aircraft Systems Act. Wow, that's a mouthful. Introduced by Democratic Senator Gary Peters of Michigan last year and recently reintroduced, and its companion House bill sponsored by Democratic Representatives Christy Houlihan of Pennsylvania and Troy Carter of Louisiana, and Republicans Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin and Mike Johnson of Louisiana. Another pending piece of legislation. Oh, go ahead.
Of civics note there, Mike Johnson is the speaker. So if you get the speaker behind a piece of legislation, it's going to go, and it may not pass, but it's high probability it's at least going to get to the floor.
Yep. So we've got another piece of legislation. House Bill 8610 has been introduced to reauthorize and reform counter unmanned aircraft system authorities to improve transparency, security, safety, and accountability related to such authorities. That bill, sponsored by the leading lawmakers from both parties representing three important House committees, Homeland Security, Transportation and Infrastructure, and Judiciary, would create a pilot program for selected local law enforcement agencies to exercise mitigation authorities over drones. Smulders says she is laser focused on efforts to encourage Congress to pass some form of legislation this year to give SLTT agencies a greater ability to mitigate incursions from errant drones. So I'm not going to go through the remainder of this. It's a long article.
Was Ms. Smulders the Dedrone person?
Yes.
So Dedrone is, of course, they have counter UAS technology, and so they're of course encouraging Congress to make this viable so that they can sell their product to local law enforcement.
Yeah, very curious what techniques they would use and when. Like, if there's a drone actually flying over people in a stadium, what kind of techniques are you going to do that doesn't cause more danger to the people that are there and not less?
Exactly.
That's my biggest fear, right? Is that, there are numerous types of counter UAS, from lasers to microwave to jamming to nets to, people have used birds to try and take these things down, and none of them realistically, besides maybe a jamming that triggers return to home.
Yeah, but could you
maybe something like a DJI?
Could you guarantee that? Like, what if it just freaks out and decides to go straight down instead of straight up, or its compass goes wacky?
If you use kinetic method, you could knock its path out of the way. But
if you're over a football stadium, out of the way is never going to be out of the way, right?
Or you can just catch it with another drone and then fly it away. or get a giant claw, grab it out of the sky.
So we remember last year there was an ARC, an aviation rulemaking committee on counter UAS, and it got watered down. It became much ado about nothing because everyone could agree that we could detect and avoid all drones in the sky, even little ones today. And that's, different, and, let's call it innovation from a decade ago. However, what do you do once you have found it and no one could agree on what's the appropriate or action to take. So if we give the interdiction ability to local law enforcement, to me, it's like, all right, that's now necessitates a significant training, because when do you show restraint? Just as Josh was saying, this can create more danger than it can help prevent. So
Yeah, you could maybe assume, okay, if this is a DJI drone and you block the signal, it'll probably return to home, so it'll go up so high and go back to the person who's flying it. If it's a home-built drone, they may have configured it to drop straight to the ground as soon as you've interfered with the signal.
exactly.
We don't know that.
Right.
Well, and here's the thing: is anybody with experience with DJI drones knows you can set what height it goes to when it returns to home. That height could be 25 feet. It could be 100 feet. So
it could
is
be
that
1
25
foot and fly straight back into the next level of those stadiums if it's below
Right,
the
100%.
edge.
Right.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
you
So
know,
it looks like
a whole lot of
we'll
questions.
take a look at Senate 1631 and House 8610. See if there's any funding in there for education. That would be beneficial. We've also got a line on one of the principals in D-Drone, and so one of the executives in D-Drone has joined us in the Drone Advisory Council.
Nice.
So it's good, and is also a retired FBI agent with UAS extensive UAS background. So
I'm guessing a lot of times they would hope that they would detect the drone, say, before it got to a stadium and force it to crash before it was over people or over the parking lot or who knows, something.
There's just a lot of discretion that's going to need to be used in using a technology like that
right.
in public.
Yeah. Hence the 5 mile radius. They can, they're watching, outside that in NFL games, and
just
then,
in case there's a tiny whoop in your backyard gets loose.
You gotta fly away from that 65 millimeter tiny whoop.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's see. I have this last one. It's from Drone Girl. Again, another kind of statistical article here, but talks about drone data security. So if it wasn't already clear about how much of a priority drone data security is to its customer, this data point makes it clear. A drone customer surveyed found that 85% of customers say that data security of the drone was very or somewhat important when selecting a drone platform. Those were the results of a 2024 Teledyne FLIR drone survey centered around drone data security. 89% of respondents agreed or somewhat agreed that they want to choose whether data is sent to the cloud. 68% of respondents expressed some level of concern that data captured by the respective drone programs might be accessible to foreign governments or other entities that might be considered hostile to their organization or work. 49% of respondents had been impacted by regulations around drone originating from countries of concern. So that would be your DJI.
What country of concern could that be?
Right. 23% of respondents say they actively seek alternative drone options. The survey polled 629 drone professionals across public safety and enterprise businesses in the U.S. Teledyne FLIR, which is an American tech company most famous in the drone industry for its thermal cameras, conducted the survey. One huge highlight is how approximately half, 49% of the survey respondents said their organizations have been impacted by legislation seeking to limit or ban drones from certain countries. That largely applies to drones made in China. Now, there isn't actually a ton of legislation outright banning drones from countries of concern on the federal level. However, there's no shortage of proposed legislations, rulings, advisory, or guidance. And it stems from all sorts of tiers, including U.S., local, state, and federal government entities. Just pretty interesting how out of those 49 that are impacted, only 23% say they are actively seeking alternate drone options. And again, I doubt that 77% of people aren't flying DJI, but maybe they're on the hopes and prayers bandwagon of legislation not getting passed.
Well, some people build their own, use RG Pilot or Beta Flight. No worries about those calling home.
Yeah, we are.
Right.
To me, the whole the security of the data in transit as well as data at rest is critically important, and we brought this up, and when we participated in the BVLOS ARC, um, as well as in remote ID discussions with ASTM. So, unmanned traffic management, not encrypted, data's open. Remote ID, what gets broadcast, not encrypted. Um, do we have protected spectrum that we can encrypt? We do not. So we're using hobby spectrum. So this is an area that, aside from the paranoia of covered countries, encryption of data is would be a wise thing to happen on the communication, to our own aircraft and back from it and telemetry, and it's currently not.
It
And
would
so
be
that's
it would be
an
hilarious to
issue.
me if someone put in a new regulation that basically said all traffic to and from a drone must be encrypted, and suddenly remote ID is illegal because it's not encrypted, and you can't have unencrypted broadcasting from your drone.
That
And
would
here's
be
the thing,
that would be a
like
wonderful thing.
like I when it comes to, I mean, speaking of remote ID, like, do I have a massive problem with my remote ID sending out information? So if I'm doing, I mean, let's say I'm doing something bad, or I'm accidentally fly where I shouldn't, that law enforcement would be able to locate where I am
Right.
through data encryption. I'm not upset about that. What I don't want is, the Joe Schmo down the street that has a problem with me flying because he doesn't like the noise, or he thinks I'm violating his privacy, or anything else, or somebody who wants to come and rob me for my drone or anything else that I'm carrying. That becomes a problem. And, I mean, everybody wants to say, well, your car has a license plate. Yeah, but it's also, I can leave. Right?
Yeah.
But
And
it's.
yeah, we expect more. Watch this space. Data security of our drone transmission is going to be of rising importance,
100%.
particularly as these things get into more and more commercial. And, and it should, the if delivery drones become ubiquitous, that would prompt that their data streams to be encrypted.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, we could, pirate a shipment of, Mavic 3s to going.
Yeah, like if their video streams that are being sent back to headquarters are not encrypted, it'd be fun to just tap into all of those and see where they're flying and seeing where they're delivering to, what the weather looks like, where they are that day.
Right.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Pretty interesting process. It'll be interesting to see where it goes for sure. All right, that's all I've got. I know that was a lot of articles tonight. Thank you for your patience, everyone. But hey, it's better than being dry on news, right?
More news
So,
than we've
Yeah.
had the last couple of times, I think.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So lots of interesting stuff going on out there. Dave, what do you got for us, sir?
Not much. Just Alex and I are continuing to work with the drone safety team on incorporating drone racing as one of the scenarios that will be considered in SMS and in the safety management system part of what the drone safety team is looking at. Our objective is to make recreational in general and multi-GP FPV racing in specific raise the awareness of those and articulate how those two cohorts are much larger than the commercial numbers of commercial drones flying that this whole organization is concerned about. So a real positive in my view. Alex, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you covered that.
Okay. That's
Alex,
all I
anything
had,
from
Josh.
you?
I don't have anything at the moment. I think drone racing, everything's good. We did get a comment asking about FRIAs and how to send that information for them to submit. You can send the information to FRIA@fpvfc.org. Also, be sure to check out our FRIA checklist on the website to make sure that you have the information we're looking for. It just speeds up the processing time for us to be able to get your free application in, which decreases the time to get your free approved, hopefully.
So the two key things, there's a lot of key things in that checklist, but the big one is need and purpose, right? And be very descriptive about that. That goes a long way towards getting your application moved through the system quickly. And the other one is that we're finding is, are drones currently being flown here? That is a question that they consistently
yes, they
ask.
are.
And if you
Yes,
have a
they
time
are.
frame
Right.
of how long they've been flying for, that
Yeah.
helps too.
Yeah.
So
that
30,
information
30
needs-
years is not a good answer to that question. 5 years, good answer.
So, just a FYI, those are two things that we're seeing that has a major impact on whether FRIAs get approved
And then
or if they come back for RFIs.
And the one area where we're seeing denials is if you live in a suburban, so it's a somewhat densely populated area, and you want the FRIA at your home. And even if you can state that a couple of individuals are flying there, which is real positive, those have been denied. If you are out in a sparsely populated area and you have some kids coming by and a group of people regularly getting together, that's a thumbs up. We're seeing approvals on those.
Yeah,
The more people that use them, or that you can say that use them, the better.
Yep.
They don't really like it to be an individual who's using it.
It's groups.
And that's
if you have a couple of friends that you invite over, then that's usually good enough.
Yep. Yeah, and this was clear in the advisory circular that the FAA, they said, this is not intended for an individual. So, and they're following through on what they wrote in that advisory circular.
Do we know how many FRIAs we're up to yet? Has anybody kept
last I checked was 2,000. I might have the number up actually.
What was that number that they expected, Dave?
4,000.
4,000. Okay.
Total.
Interesting. Keep pushing it. We want to exceed 4,000, guys.
Yeah, I feel like there's not enough STEM related, high school, whatever related FRIAs yet.
Yeah,
I agree.
I've done a couple schools, but yeah.
Yeah, I think there are a bunch of schools that are just flying and
2,457.
Okay.
24, almost 25.
And so we know at least
November.
And we know that about 7 or 8 months ago, about 1,000 or 1,100 were AMAs.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think they're around 1,500 now.
Okay.
I think they've been over 1,500 for a while, for at least a year.
Didn't they originally say they were going to have over 2,000 or something?
2,600. Yep.
Yeah. Getting there, guys. So
yeah,
keep driving it, and FRIA at fpvfc.org. All right, Dan, anything to round us out for the evening?
No, nothing important. I was just looking at our video feeds thinking, gosh, I should put a drone or something back up here. I don't have anything good in the background. And looking at your guys' feeds, like none of us have any visible. I know Alex has stuff hidden out of frame or blurred out.
My office is in disarray right now, so it's in the content
stickers.
Project workspace. So
there you go. It's in my office is in the process of getting redone.
That's
there
good.
You go.
A bow tie.
Mount it up here.
A halo.
For a drone-related live stream, we don't have a lot of drones in our shots.
Here, drone motor, color. I'll just hold these next time.
Perfect. Much better.
Yeah,
we definitely need some background. So once I get my office reset back up, it'll be good to go.
I can get some props.
No dorm for tonight.
Make sure you plan ahead for that, Dave, for when you move.
That's right.
Have a live streaming room with plenty of drone-related props in the background.
Good point. Okay, we also, speaking of planning, we are going to skip 27 November in deference to Thanksgiving. So you will not see us 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks.
We'll take a jump into December. Oh my gosh, end of the year. Oh my gosh.
And then we'll take a look at what December looks like and let you all know on the next one, guys.
Right.
Just before FAA regulation dropping season.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we're still expecting the beyond visual line of sight notice for public rulemaking.
See how you have to change or ignore new regs.
Jeez. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us this evening. We appreciate it. And feel free to reach out. And yeah, with that, we'll see you in a month. Seems like a long time, but it'll go by quick, I promise. So
Yeah.
see y'all later and have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fly so high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Flying, get on board. We're smiling on top of the world. Dangerous times, don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world, but keep the sky on your mind.